which is part of Qatar Foundation. My name is Fayrouz Zayani, and I'm very happy to be with you and to have our special guest tonight. Tonight's discussion theme is very important indeed. We're talking about the heart of our future, empowering youth today, protecting our tomorrow. This is the pillar of our nation. This is being broadcast live through the different accounts of Qatar Foundation and through the different social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We would like also to welcome all your questions, distinguished guests who are with us here today, and would like also to welcome participation from the different platforms. We would like to welcome all your questions that you would like to pose to our distinguished guest. And this coincides with the hosting of Qatar National Day. We're going to concentrate in this session, which is very distinctive indeed. As we have mentioned, we're going to talk about youth and their vital role when it comes to the building of tomorrow. Building tomorrow. Tomorrow is very important indeed when it comes to the agenda of Qatar Foundation, when it comes to its many, many initiatives. This is part and parcel of the initiatives that had been undertaken to empower youth and making them take part in decision-making for them to become leaders in the future. Through the reinforcement of Arabic culture, language and identity, and also to have local and regional and international platforms, and also to launch constructive discussions about so many topics through the hosting of leaders of intellect and thought from different spheres of life. So we're not going to be very lengthy. Our guest is a leader in many, many spheres, including defense affairs. He is a pioneering personality, and he serves at great length his country, and he builds and believes in the role of youth when it comes to building the future. And also, he is very keen to listen to their voices and finding solutions to their matters. He uses his expertise and experience in order to support them. And he always motivates youth in order for them to achieve their objectives. He sees in them the future of this homeland, the region, and the world at large, for them to overcome their challenges and also to aspire to their aspirations and ambitions. We'd like to welcome to the podium His Excellency Dr. Khalid Attiyah, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense.
أهلا وسهلا مرحبا دكتور. أهلا وسهلا شرفتي. تفضل.
السلام عليكم يا رب البيت.
We are honored to have you with us here in this speaker series discussion. We're going to start with a discussion that is very important indeed, that has proven to be very important indeed. We're talking about innovation and research. When we were trying to research the different fields that you are overlooking with your own kind interest, and also you are chairing the Qatar Research, Development and Innovation Council. The topic is very important to build Qatar and the future of the state of Qatar. This council, Qatar Research and Development and Innovation Council, it's based on that and what? You work in this council and focus on the research, development and innovation. Is this part of the defense strategy? I would like to wish you a good afternoon to you and to all the people present with us here. It was a beautiful introduction. You said that you believe in youth, not to a large extent, but I absolutely believe in the power of youth. Research, development, innovation is something that we need to concentrate on in the light of the challenges that we have. And undoubtedly, in the defense strategy should be in keeping with the 2030 national vision. The resources that we have, the wealth that we have from the different educational institutions, universities, if such youth are not directed in order for them to unlock their potential and energies, this is not going to lead to anywhere. That is why it is very important to concentrate on research, development and innovation, because this is one of the most important pillars that our strategy is based on. When it comes to cooperation, the levels of cooperation are unlimited. I cannot limit them in one list. Qatar Foundation is one of the very important institutions, we have to say. We have research centers. So we work with our youth in defense, and this is the base that we work on. This is the foundation that we work on. This is very important indeed. We are asking ourselves, in your view, where does the importance of youth lie, that you believe in, that are considered part and parcel of the efforts exerted by Qatar Foundation, that serves the many sectors in the presence of Qatari youth and their contributions when it comes to scientific research? Where does their importance lie? There are so many challenges on different bases when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to the environment, when it comes to development, when it comes to so many fields. We have to say, we do see that the only components that can make the future are youth. We have to say that. That is why this investment is very important indeed. At the end of the day, it is the youth that have the tools, the scientific tools. And the country has exerted a great deal of efforts in good education, distinctive education. So all youth today have played a very important role. And when we talk about youth, we talk about male and female. And some older people, yes, these are the very important components of the community. So that is why they have to learn from this knowledge, and they have to develop the technical components for them to achieve sustainability. You talked about sustainability, you talked about the environment, you talked about climate also. These are very important topics when it comes to the leadership in the state of Qatar. So we'd like to stop at the slogan of Qatar National Day. What does it want to reflect on this very important occasion? So this meaning is very deep indeed, we have to say. Our fathers, our grandfathers have not reached what we have reached so easily. There are so many challenges that they have gone through. Fathers and grandparents, they have gone through so many challenges when it comes to the environment and sustainability. So they worked on our resources such as food and water, and after that we had energy, and we started desalinating our water through the use of energy. That is why our youth should be entrusted with what they have and try to seek alternative energies. So they have to be entrusted with the achievements that have been made by the fathers and forefathers and start working on that in order to overcome the challenges of climate change, desertification, and all the challenges that they face. In every sentence, you call upon youth. So what are the most important practices? What is the strategy that the country sets in order to motivate youth, particularly when it comes to reinforcing national identity? So we need four main things. They have to believe in the ideas. They have to be enthusiastic. And they have to work. So if youth enjoy such traits, they would be able to achieve a great deal. So now all the tools that we have talked about, they are available in our youth. So we have the best educational institutions. The institutions, we have also the fund. We would like our youth to believe in these ideas. We would like them to be enthusiastic. We'd like them to be passionate. We'd like them to believe in these ideas. You talked about the importance of the environment and the preservation of the environment and how we should motivate our youth. We have seen great initiatives in the last 2 years in the light of the pandemic. We have seen a great deal of development. And we have seen them cleaning our coasts, cleaning the cities. So these initiatives, they are worthy of encouragement. So how important is it to instill such kind of culture, the culture of volunteering? So when it comes to voluntary work, it is something that has been instilled in us from the past. It is in the blood of each and every Qatari. And this is thanks to God Almighty. This is something that is instilled in us. We like to do virtuous stuff, good stuff. And when it comes to aspirations, we have seen that voluntary work is not only particular to traditional work. And even during the pandemic, there is a new pandemic. So we need volunteering in order to instill the culture and also to protect also our youth from migration. So we need to have educated youth because we want to stop the brain drain. So volunteering has become in diverse spheres, not only in traditional spheres. And who is behind this development? Is it the school? Is it the home? Is it the institutions? So we might have some mothers here. So a mother is a school in herself. Most of the persons that have been successful, their first school was their mothers. So it is the mother who is the school, not the father. So it starts from the home. So it starts from what they achieve at home, what they get at home. So we do develop year after year when it comes to our educational curricula, through instilling very good traits and we try to reinforce these aspects. We try to reinforce these attributes. So reinforcing these attributes. So what can polish the mentality of youth for them to benefit from these outcomes and the community as well. So the institutions that support voluntary work are numerous, and the best way to polish such efforts is through practice. We talked about research and development. Research and development are closely linked to volunteering. So we have a program in NASA. So there are so many youth from this institution with colleagues from the armed forces who work on developing a satellite for the environment, and this is a voluntary effort. So voluntary work is not only limited to charitable work. No, voluntary work can manifest in many fields. And youth are very much motivated. They want to acquire knowledge. And I gave you an example. So we have a project, and also we have one of the sisters who is in the United States of America. She's been with us for 2 years. She's working with us without any financial income. So she is part of the program. So such voluntary work, they need to have a certain framework. So also there should be institutions. Yes, we have the voluntary institutions that encourage volunteering. We'd like to talk a little bit about politics. We should not forget about politics. I left the political sphere a long time ago, but we look forward to your kind intervention. What has been witnessed in the state of Qatar, the elections of the Shura Council, the Consultative Council. So what about the participation of youth and how can this have an impact on the future of youth? Yes, the Shura Council elections was the main event that has taken place in the year 2021. This is not a new thing. This is something that has been mentioned in the Constitution. It is part of the Constitution. His Highness the Emir did not want to have anything pending in the Constitution. Anything that is part of the Constitution for him should be implemented, and he took the wise and courageous decision to have the Shura Council elections on time. With the spread of social media platforms, so Dr. Hamad Al-Kuwari threatened me and he said that I have to use Arabic. So there are so many negatives when it comes to social media, but also we have to understand that when youth are not close to the political sphere, they do not know what the burden is, but through their participation, they have become in charge and responsible. Undoubtedly, youth should be encouraged, should be motivated. They should be able to rub shoulders with the different candidates. They should listen to the different candidates. In every household in the state of Qatar, there is a representative in the Shura Council, because our youth would be able to have access and to know the budget of the state. They can propose the different draft laws. They would be able to know what can lead to the objectives that they aim to have. So we have less pressure on us in the government. We have a responsible partner. And of course, with these new ideas that youth have, that the community needs for it to be able to continue. Your Excellency, you talked about the most important event and incident was the Shura Council elections, but the journey of the state of Qatar is full of achievements. If you had to choose some of those achievements, which one would you stop at and talk about? The state of Qatar has gone through many, many phases and many, many achievements. And all these achievements are interrelated. We cannot separate one phase from another. We cannot say that this one is separate from the other. With the help of God Almighty and with the wise leadership of our country, the openness of our leadership, we cannot say that this year is distinctive from the other year. Yes, what distinguishes this year is the elections, but there are some other years that had many other incidents, many other achievements, development. We are harvesting the fruit of education. Before coming to the hall, my Abu Tamim and myself were talking about youth. So now health is witnessing a revolution and the age of youth has changed. So these things happened through a number of phases. So the protection of the homeland, we live in a country that everybody wants to have. So who should protect this homeland? Who has led this homeland to flourish as it is the case now? It was our forefathers who did that. And now we'd like to talk about the defense strategy. you're not going to say that you're not going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about research. We'd like to know the constants based on which the state of Qatar works on its defense strategy in the past, in the present, and the future. So what does it lean on? So we are a state with no animosities with the others. So our military creed and doctrine is based on defense. So we prepare ourselves as part of this strategy. And there are a number of implementation plans that are part of the strategy. And we have a conviction that our defense strength and power is the insurance policy for the investments. And also it is a component of stability for us and peace. When I say that I am strong and you're strong, we can come into an agreement and everything would be fine. But if one party feels that the other party is weaker, so the situation would be different. So there might be ambitions from one part at the expense of the other part. But this is a kind of a insurance policy without looking at the return on investment. But within this investment and within these institutions and the institution of defense, there are men that are prepared for the future, whether in the field of defense or in other fields of life. I am not racist, but I would like to say that military leaders, men or women, they are all successful, always successful. So you find that they have great successes achieved even in the civil field. If you go to the essence, to the source of a military personality, you will find, of a civil personality, you will find also that the essence is military also. There are many personalities present with us here today. So we're facing difficulties with the sound, I'm afraid, since the beginning of this lecture, but I'm trying my best to deliver the interventions made. So we'd like to take questions from the dear audience present with us here, and also from the different platforms where this meeting is being broadcast. So there's a microphone, and if you can introduce yourself and you can pose your question. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. My name is Salah from Gaza, Palestine. I've come less than a week ago. I'm very happy to meet you, Dr. Khalid. I used to see you on television, and I would like to thank God because I was able to meet you and see you in reality. I'm always enthusiastic when I see your achievements. I have two questions that I would like to pose. At the beginning of your intervention, you said you have had the best achievement of Qatar Foundation. What is your view for the near future in order to make youth take part in the different fields and also to invest their potential in different sectors and fields? The second question, what is your strategic plan in including youth? And when you look at the different sectors, economic, security, and political sectors. Thank you very much. Salah, before you came from Gaza, you're in our hearts. Youth, with the greatness of God Almighty and the capabilities available, youth do not need any cronyism, do not need that for them to be part of the development that is taking. So there are opportunities. They only need to get rid of laziness for those who are lazy. Only for those who are lazy. You're going to continue with us. Each young man and woman, if they are distinctive, they would impose themselves. Their work would impose itself. Some youth today in Qatar, they do not know where to go really, because there are so many opportunities. There is so much demand on those youth. There are opportunities, yes, but opportunities, they require hard work. Yes, that's true. Another participation from the audience among us who would like to pose a question to Dr. Khalid. There was a lady that wanted to ask a question. Yes, go ahead. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. We have Moza Al-Hajri. My question to Your Excellency, the Minister, we are very pleased to have you with us. My question to you, we have seen Qatari youth, particularly men, they choose to enter the field of defense. Do you think that this is something good for the state, or is this something that is limiting to youth in the sense that they do not enter other fields? I really wish everybody to enter the defense sector. But from a governmental perspective, for us to manage things, we need our youth to be in all sectors. But at the same time, I do not want you to be sad because there are so many youth who enter the armed forces. This is also a way to make men for the future. That is why I would like to polish these personalities. We need to shake them a little bit, if you agree with me, of course. Another question from the audience with us here today. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you, Fahd Al-Kuwari, cultural attaché. I would like to talk about civil service. So there are a number of initiatives that have been undertaken, which is the civil service. How do you assess this experience after this phase, and what is the impact on investment on youth? So civil service was the outcome of a vision, of an idea, and directives of His Highness the Emir. If I talk about national service, this is a topic that is very much close to my heart. So since you, Fahad, are in a very important position, in a very sensitive position, and you see youth from outside the country, time has become very important indeed to compare between the past and today, and to compare the behavior of those who go and study at universities in Britain and those who come without having any national experience, whether in the military or have achieved some development. I hope that everybody would visit the national service. So one day in the national service would enable you to understand and know the different programs and how the person would enter this national service and how he or she would leave. Would like to take some more questions. We're going to come back to you. We have a number of questions from a number of platforms. We have a question from Facebook. There is a question about your assessment of women youth participation in politics. We do encourage the participation of women, and you see in Qatar there is no a place only allocated to men. No, it is allocated to men and women. So the deciding factor is the capability of the candidate. So we have three ministers, female ministers. Dr. Hanan, we call her the White General. She is the Minister of Public Health. We have so many ladies in different positions in the armed forces. We have many, many ladies we have engineers, we have so we have seen so many women that have taken so many important positions, despite the fact that the community is a conservative community. Yes, it is community. But when it comes to the ministries of the state, particularly the Ministry of Defense, we do preserve this component of conservatism. So whether a woman is a captain or an engineer and so on. So we have large number of women. That is why we do not accept all the applications, whether these applications from male or female. I would like to go back to you. You wanted to ask a question. Go ahead. We're facing difficulties here in the guest. My question, do you have a strategic plan to reinforce the role of women in the armed forces? You talked about the role of women in the Air Force. What about the other units? I said that there are women in engineering and in cybersecurity also. We have women. We have also in the Navy. We have women, we have in all sectors of the armed forces, but there is a strategy that develops the capabilities of women to be present with us in this sector, and we're going to announce it very soon. I'm not going to be partial to women. I'm going to be accused of being partial only to women. Go ahead. My name is Jassim Al-Thani. We're pleased to have you with us. Your Excellency would like to talk about intellectual extremism that has led to the loss of so many young persons. How can we protect our youth from these waves? We try, at least in the military establishment, we try to make sure that to be abiding by our religion. So this is a challenge. This is not a challenge just only applies to our state, the state of Qatar, to our youth, citizens and expats. No, this is a world challenge. It is an international challenge. So when it comes to extremism, it has so many manifestations. And this is something that is of concern to us, and it takes a lot of our time. And we try to make our youth really strong in order to fight such ideas, because they might be perhaps pushed into such kind of extremist ideas. So perhaps there might be some third parties that would try to sabotage our youth through attracting them into those ideas. So there is a question from LinkedIn platform. There is a question about the environment. What are the most important projects about the environment that our youth should concentrate on? So I think that the knowledge-based economy is going to be concentrated on. So there's going to be a concentration on clean energy and also food security and water security. And there are so many indicators. We have Qatar Petroleum, which is now called Qatar for Energy or Energy. We have the Ministry of Environment has become Ministry of Environment has become separate from the Ministry of Municipality. And also we have so many research centers that are part and parcel of Qatar Foundation. All of these centers work as beehives in the field of development, the field of research in clean energy, and they concentrate on the environment. Our objective is to reach good results in this matter.
دكتورة شريفة العمادي معهد الدوحة الدولي للأسرة.
So would like to reach zero global warming, Dr. Sharifa Al-Imadi. So the state pays heed to youth in different specializations, in different fields. And Your Excellency, you have mentioned and talked about the importance of mothers. Have we prepared our youth for them to be able to create families? We didn't hear. There is a problem with the sound, I'm afraid. The line is interrupting. So we need our youth to be our wealth. Our youth need to concentrate on building families and be responsible in their families. I'm not a social counsel, but I am talking from my experience. I have children and I want them to be married. So when you discuss things with them, so you need to discuss ideas, even if you're not persuaded. And it is time for our youth to be persuaded to establish families and to be patient and to protect their families. No, you cannot get married for a few months and that's it. So this is a very important topic, even on social media platforms. This topic is being tackled. One of the questions that you have mentioned, that the most important pillar of the community is the family, and the reinforcement of identity. Arab identity is something that we can only achieve through the reinforcement of the pillar of the family. So we think that our kids are safe in their rooms, but they are within the realm of technology. They are with their tablets. In my message to youth, I was going to talk about identity. We have a problem when it comes to our youth's belief in identity. Our young men and women, all of them, they make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But I do think that identity is very important indeed. I am Muslim, I'm an Arab, I'm Qatari. If we believe in this identity, all the sources of attractions are going to fall and disappear in front of these convictions. So we've all gone to the West, but we have not been influenced by the things that are not in keeping with our identity. We have dealt with many people. We deal with the technology. I have learned recently how to use these devices, these gadgets. They have not impacted me. That is why we've become immune. That is why the most important thing is to make sure that our youth are immune vis-à-vis these sources of attraction, things that try to move them away from their identity. There used to be something in the past that was very important indeed. Even the neighbor was an educator, would raise kids with you. But now the situation is different. Perhaps you don't even know your neighbor. If you don't pray, you would be punished for not praying. Isn't it, Dr. Kawari? There is another question from the far end. If you can use the microphone, please. So the topics are very much branched out. Everybody here is trying to pose questions and talk about so many topics. Abdullah Al-Bashiri from Mohamed Medical Corporation. We are proud and honored to have you with us here today. This is not a question. This is just a piece of advice that we are seeking to have in Trade and Economics website. Before entering this lecture, I noticed that the level of unemployment is 0.01. So unemployment in the state of Qatar is 0%. And we have people with high expertise. We have people from outside the state, resources working with us that we cannot do without. And when I graduated from university, I had to wait for a year and 6 months before I started working. But I was trying on a daily basis until I worked and I became successful in my work. And during my work, I was doing my master's as well. I look at the Qatar's platform that publishes vacancies. So we only people who are not employed can have access to such jobs. I think there is some big bureaucracy that should be transformed into technocracy in order to move into a realm where we would be much more motivating to our youth, because we do not want to have a big gap between the generation that is leading the situation now and the ones that are going to take over any nation, east or west. If it falls because of the new generation that would, in my view, it is because of the gap between the two generations. What is your view? First of all, I would like to salute you for the great efforts that you have exerted during the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. Yes, I would like to salute your efforts for all what you have done. I would like to add something. I was the managing director of the Bsayr Hospital. So all efforts is thanks to you after what we have been endowed by God Almighty. So when it comes to youth and unemployment, this is a very important topic. So the state tries to cater for our youth by providing job opportunities. But if a young man or woman does not want a certain job and wants to change his job or her job, this is not considered unemployment. This is an option that was undertaken by that person to change his or her job. When we take your example, you have been patient and you waited for a year and a half and you waited until you got the job you wanted. So unemployment sometimes is due to the fact that some young men and women do not want to have certain positions. And we would like you to contribute to the private sector, to production. We need our youth to contribute to the private sector. Would like also to take another question from another platform. We have a question from LinkedIn. So the values that you try to instill in our youth, and how can programs such as national service can contribute to these efforts? What has the national service added to our youth? So many used to say that our Qatari youth, they live in affluence and they are not responsible. So what are the fruits that you have started harvesting as a result of this experience? Abdullah talked about something very important indeed. He said that affluence and not doing much would lead to fall of nations. That is why we need to have strong generations and courageous generations that would contribute to the continuation of the ummah, of the nation. So when it comes to national service, it is a very important endeavor. There are a number of mothers that specifically ask us not to allow their children to leave during the end of the week. So it depends on the personality, of course. There are some young men and women who sit in front of the television for 10 hours. So mothers do instill these values such as citizenship, healthy diet, talents are instilled. So our youth can work in many, many fields, in industries, electronics, in sports. We have so many young men and women who are very talented in many, many fields. This is a gain that we have achieved. That is why I told Brother Fahd that when he looks at our young men and women outside the state to see how their behavior has changed before joining the national service and after. There is another question. How can you strike a balance between your work in the military field that requires a lot of strict behavior and working in other fields as well? When you work in the military establishment, it doesn't mean that you have lost this human trait. So being human is part and parcel of our work in the military establishment. So the higher your rank become, the more you serve the other soldiers and officers. So your presence is there for you to protect his or her identity. So human work, the human dimension is part and parcel of military work. When you become strict, it doesn't mean that you become less human. We couldn't hear when Fayrouz intervened. There is a lot of echo, I'm afraid. We do apologize to the ladies and gentlemen listening to the translation. We would like to take another question from the dear audience with us. I cannot hear the voice of the speaker. I think he said he is a graduate from Qatar University, and I was ranked first. I think he said this would not have been achieved unless had I not been supported by you. So taking part in economic development, you said that natural resources are going to deplete at some point in time. So is there a plan in order to take part in the development of the state through a certain number of plans? So when it comes to the defense establishment, the military establishment, there is a military side and there is also a civil side. So the military establishment plays a very important role when it comes to civil training, particularly that we have started witnessing a large number of floods and other natural disasters, and this requires training at the civil level. So we work on developing programs that serve the peaceful civil side, and also there are programs that are dedicated to the defense and military sides. Thank you. Microphone, please. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Sheikh Ali Al-Marri, consultant to the Minister of Youth and Sport. I do not think that it is a question. I just want to add to some of the questions that have been posed when you talk about religious and national identity. We have this soft power when it comes to intellectual invasion and how immune our youth going to be. It is not enough to say that I am a Muslim. This should manifest in your life because Islam is a lifestyle. It is not a religion that is dissociated from our life. So when there are things that are prohibited in our religion, these things are prohibited because there are reasons for the prohibition. And this can only be achieved through research to know why these things have been prohibited. And we have to have dialogue, dialogue and dialogue. Personally speaking, I think that dialogue is very, very important indeed. We have to have policies that support open dialogue, dialogue that would reinforce tolerance in order to overcome challenges that we don't even know about, and that would be enabling. So dialogue can reinforce our immunity when it comes to our national and religious identity. Thank you very much. What she said is right. Abdullah Al-Kbesi, I have two questions. I have the first question in continuation of what my sister Moza said and how people are very much interested in the military sector and how does the states deal with the shortage in terms of cadres in other kind of sectors. So what were the challenges that the state of Qatar had faced during the elections? We cannot hear Dr. Attiyah, I'm afraid. The line is interrupting. It seems that he said something very, very interesting. So the level of participation during the elections was 63%. This is the largest, very large percentage, particularly that such elections are the first of their kind, I suppose, in these circumstances. And things are going to develop year after year. I am sure of that. Yes, go ahead. I think she said, I'm Aisha Al-Muhannadi. I'm from Georgetown, Qatar. What are the opportunities that have been provided by the state when the state asks our youth to work and not to give in? How has the state paved the way for youth, particularly women, despite the fact that they work in the political sphere, but they remain a minority? I do not know what I can tell you. From my experience, humble experience, students that have graduated from Qatar University and Georgetown, all of them are students, particularly graduates of Qatar University, International Affairs and Georgetown. They were able to contribute to overcoming the difficulties that we have faced in the 5 or 4 years, in the last 5 or 4 years. If you have an alumni committee, these graduates, these alumni were in the front line and they were able to overcome the many difficulties that we have faced. I would like to salute them. Indeed, you're going to find the right place for you. If you succeed, you have to work hard to do so. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Your Excellency the Minister, as you have said, the God Almighty has blessed the state of Qatar with so many capabilities. And the state of Qatar has provided one of the greatest things. All my children have studied, have graduated, and have joined the the best companies here. I've been living in the state of Qatar for a long period of time, and I work in the strategic sector. I think that the performance needs to be developed. His Highness, the Emir, has always been keen and urging for the development of performance in the governmental sector. Your question is very important indeed. With regard to our brothers and sisters, the expats, this is our duty in the state of Qatar. We have to protect them because they played a very important role in development, and this is something that we cannot forget. This is the truth. The youth present with us here, they are the ones that are going to develop governmental performance. We have seen a number of youth that have entered these sectors. So a generation is going to leave and a new generation will come. So we wanted to have more participations, so we're going to have one last intervention. We have almost come to the end of this session. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you. From Doha Higher Studies Institute, so talking about mental health. And the second point that I would like to talk about, perhaps this is a topic that we need your help for. Doha in 2018 started the first higher studies program in mental studies. We have had the first class, the second and the third cohorts. And the graduates, they face difficulties in joining the job market. Citizens and expats, there is a lot of frustration. There are so many mental health specialists, but they cannot give back what they have taken from the government, the efforts that have been exerted. You have talked about a topic that is very important. So the leader of medical services is here. He is not going to leave until he sits with you and to see this particular topic. We talked about mental health in governmental institutions, in defense, for a long period of time. Mental health is a very important component. We're facing difficulties here in His Excellency, the Minister. So this is a field that needs to be further developed. So this needs to be assessed when you put a person in a sphere or in a field of high pressure. You would find that some persons would collapse as a result of high pressure. So this is something that we're trying to work on in order to reform this sector. Thank you very much for this observation. We'd like to take one last question from Facebook. The question, can we see successes that are in keeping with the successes that have been achieved in another field? She mentioned another field, but unfortunately, I think she said media. In a very short period of time, our young men and women who work in the research, development and innovation centers, they're going to be very much developed and advanced. They have the tools, they have the ideas, they have the intellect, we have the base, which is education. And now, while we're speaking here, Qatar Research, Development and Innovation Council is working very, very hard in order to achieve these objectives. And in a short period of time, we're going to be able to rub shoulders with advanced countries in the field. We'd like to thank you all for your valuable questions. We do apologize To those who were not able to take the floor and pose questions, we'd like to thank His Excellency, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense. We'd like to thank him for his time. We'd like to thank the different platforms. Before we conclude, we'd like you to give us a message. I would like to underline something very important. You're the shield and the sword of the state, and for you to be the shield and the sword of the country, we have to preserve the identity. We have to believe in the ideas that you would like to achieve. We have to try to imagine our future. We have to do our best, and we have to preserve our religion. Would like to thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Defense.
ونحن نعلم ثقل مهامكم التي نتمنى لكم فيها كل التوفيق من الله عز وجل. أشكركم جزيل الشكر.
Would like to thank you very much for being with us, and would like to hope that we will be able to see you in other opportunities. Thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا. شكرا.